Hey, welcome back, guys. So we have a bit of a problem here with our website, right? Because while I'm at home here, this is okay, but if I click on shop, I get this error here that says undefined variable settings, blah, blah, blah. So let's go back to home here for a sec. Now, the real issue here is that what needs to happen is that we have a trait here called setting, which is kind of like a class that retrieves the settings that we want. But the problem is, it means I have to put this trait the same way I did on home, on the home controller here. I have to use it every time. Now, since this is settings are a thing that will show on the header, which means almost every single page will have will need the settings to be displayed. So it's going to be a bit cumbersome and pointless. We'll be using too much code if on every controller we have to use the setting and then we have to do the get setting like this, where we load all the settings into this data variable and then we can access them on the other side. So it's going to add too much code. So what we can do instead is let's try and create something, a sort of a global variable, right? A global variable that we can access anytime, anywhere in the page. However, global variables should be used rarely, once in a while. Don't get into the habit of using static variables, which are global variables, all the time. So anyway, use your own discretion on this one, but let's try and convert this whole system into a static one. That way we don't have to do this every time. So I'm just going to remove this use setting here. And of course, I want to remove this as well, like so. Okie dokie. So let's see what problems we have created now. Is if I try to refresh and then I get this usual error. Okay, not to fear. Let's try and fix it. So let's go to our setting class and let's just change it for a second here back to a class. So you've been promoted to a class. Now starts the real issue. So what I will do here is there's this get all settings as object, right? So what I will do is I'm going to have some of these become static functions. So for example, this one can be a static function. So I'm going to say public static function like that. And then here I want one protected static settings, right? Like so. Is equal to, I don't know, we can set it to null for now, like so. Okay, great, and so far so good. So this means we can access this statically. We don't have to instantiate this class. We can just say setting, and actually it makes more sense to call this one settings. So I'm going to put that S there. It'll make more sense for the readability. And so now I can call this statically, which means I can do this instead. So let me come back here, and what I shall do, okay, protected static. Okay, for now I want to okay. The thing is, I want this settings variable to be filled with actual settings from here. Now, one way I would have done that is by using a constructor. So once I instantiate this class, then I can run this to populate that, because I can't do it directly here. Now, so here comes the problem with static, doing things with a static way, in the static way, because I won't have the privilege of a constructor to do that for me. So we'll have to get creative here. So let me come to what I want to be able to do really is if I go to the header here, you see here where it says settings and then phone number. What I want to be able to do is to do this like so. So I'll say settings, phone number, like that, and then I should be able to get my phone number there. So if I come back here and try that, of course I don't get that. So now settings is not a valid object, so let's use the small letters like so. Settings, like that. So settings, phone number, like so. So let's come back here and refresh. Undefined variable settings. Oh, sorry, you don't need the $sign there. It should be like that. Settings, because this is a class. So settings, phone number. Refresh. Ooh. So now it's saying uncaught error. Undefined constant settings, phone number. Okay, so this settings phone number is undefined. Let me come back here to settings class here for a second. So class settings. Wait a minute. Oh, so the constant is talking about his phone number here. All right, great. Okay, so we are on the right track. For a second there, I thought I was losing my mind. Okay, so what we do now, what we want is for this to be populated. But for now, I want to get this item statically. Okay, so what I will do now, let me copy this and let me go to header here and just try that for a second and put that there like so, and refresh. Okay, could not convert to string, so that is okay. So it means things are working fine. Okay, so now what we want is to be able to do this. So let's go back to our settings and see how we can actually do that. Now there's a neat thing here where if you, let me come back here for a second. Where are we? Header. Let me put at the end of phone number here, let me put some brackets there to show that I'm trying to run a function. So let me come back here, refresh. So undefined method. So what there's a neat, what we call a magic function here, which only happens when I call a non-existing a method. So put 2 underscores here, 1, 2, like so, and then you write the word call like that. So once you do that, you create a function that will run when you try to access a function that doesn't exist. So if I try to access, like for example now on header, I'm trying to access this phone number function like that, right? Now that function doesn't exist inside setting here. So what will happen instead, this will be called. But there are 2 types. This call function only runs if we've instantiated our class, but if we want to do it statically, then we have to put static at the end like so. So in here, what will happen is, let me try and echo something here. Now I need to create 2 variables here, one called name and the other called parameters, or whatever it is. I can give them any names I want. It's just that the first one will contain the name of the function I was trying to run. So if I echo that now, let me come back here and refresh. Oh, it must be static. Ooh, sorry. Look at that. How cute. It should be the other way around. So it's a magic function, so it's public. So public static function like so. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it has echoed phone number as the name here that we were trying to access. So let's add some code here to go along with what we have done here. So the idea of this whole thing is that I want to call a phone number here. I know this method definitely doesn't exist, right? So I'm intentionally calling that so that this function here will run. So once it runs, it's going to tell me the name of the function I was trying to run. So in our case, it's phone number. So instead, what I want to do is to read from the database and then get that particular setting and then return that instead. Because right now you've seen that I've echoed name and it has actually returned that. So instead of echo, I could have said return, for example, return name. And then if I refresh, I get that phone number there, but I want to return the actual value from the database. Now, in this case, I can run this function right here, which can bring back all the information that I need from the database. And then I can return the one that I want. So let's do that right now. So if, for example, I come here and I copy this, and then I'm going to say instead, because we're in a static format, I'm going to say self instead of this. I'm going to do that. So this is why I've made this a static function, so I can run it in a static manner. So once I do this, it's going to return me the data from the database or the settings. So I'm going to just say, maybe let me call it settings like so. So settings is equal to self get them as object. So it's going to bring me an object of everything. Then now all I need to do is check if the object is there. Okay, if it's in there, then we're good to go, right? So if the thing that you're looking for is not found, you can choose whether to return an error or to just return an empty string. But to avoid showing too much information on the website, I vote for returning an empty string if we don't find what we are looking for. So, or maybe I can just say undefined variable, right? So here what I can do is just say return settings, because settings is going to be an object. So I'm going to say return settings like so, and then put name there of the name that I've called there. So let's see this in action for a second. Now if I refresh, I do get the phone number there. See that? Now the advantage of all this is that now, regardless of any page that I'm on, I still get that without any errors whatsoever. Any page here, as long as the header is there, I get it, because this is like a global variable. There's only one problem though. The reason why I added this there. The only problem is that every time I call this, I'm reading from the database, reading all the settings just to get one of them. And even though I was just getting one of them, it's not really economical to get one at a time, because I keep going back and forth from the database, which slows things down. It's a few milliseconds, but who knows? As your website grows bigger, things do tend to slow down. So to reduce the amount of times we have to go to the database, what I will do here is I'm just going to say, I'll copy this here, this return settings, right? Now before I return settings, I'm just going to say this. Oh, wait a second. I'm going to say self, not this. So self settings should be equal to the settings like so. That way the settings are stored in here as well. So the next time, if this already has the settings I need, I don't need to go back to the database. I can simply read from it. So let's just make sure that we haven't gotten any errors so far. Ooh, on line 39, unexpected token. Where is that? There we go. Oh. Self settings. Wait, what is the unexpected token here? What was it expecting exactly? Oh, sorry. You know, these are simple things that we end up forgetting here. I need to put a variable thingy there because this is a static. Okay, so we are good there. That's good. So now we have stored things in there. Now the next time we come here, instead of simply going to get those settings, what I want is to check if this is not equal to null. So all I need to do is say if self settings, like that. If that one is true, then let's return that. Let me do this. But if it's not, let's read from the database and add that data so that next time we don't need to go through there. Okay, so then settings here. Okay, so before I do this, I want to show you what's really going on, maybe to help explain things. So here what I will do is every time we pass through here, I am going to echo out. I'm going to say echo db, like so. Okay, I'll put a slash there, like so. Let me come back here for a second and let's refresh. So you see there's a db at the beginning there, right? So this is just showing you that it went through the db process. Now let me do the same for email. So I'm going to go to my header, and right here where I wanted to access my email, I'm going to copy this and put it here, and then change phone number, of course, to email, like that, and then come back here and refresh. So you will notice that there's db there and there's db there, so it means it's going through the db every single time. So yeah, I think for now that's enough. Then let me come back here for a second and let's change things a bit. Let me go back here and move this in there and duplicate that, move things in there, like so. So if settings do work out, we don't need to run this. Instead, we're going to return self settings, like so. Don't forget the $sign, like I did, like that. And then we're going to return settings name, like so. So let's try this again, and I'm going to refresh. And you notice that only this first one has db, but the other one does not. So which means we only went to the database once, and then we can continue to read the data from the variable that we stored, because this is a static thing. It maintains the data that was retrieved earlier. All right, so hopefully this wasn't too complex, but we were all just trying to avoid that issue of calling things of having to use the settings class or extending it every single time. Okay, so let me remove this echo db here. It's useless. Come back here and refresh. Things are looking up. Okay, so in the next video, let's add to the rest of these right here and see if we can be able to still save settings with the new design of our website. Now, see you then.